There are truths that don't arrive as comfort. They arrive as awakening. And when they awaken, they don't just illuminate, they reveal where we were trapped without realizing it. Divine prosperity doesn't begin with numbers or opportunities or open doors. It begins in that silent place inside you, where God touches first before he touches any other area. Because there are things the mind says it wants, but the heart is not yet prepared to sustain. That's why so many people live this paradox. High faith, but low results, desire to break through, but repeated cycles, pursuit of prosperity. But behavior shaped by scarcity, it is not a lack of prayer. It is not a lack of faith. It is not a lack of ability. It is a lack of inner alignment. Prosperity moves inside before it manifests outside. It is God reorganizing foundations before releasing territory. It is him building structure before releasing increase. And maybe you are exactly in that place right now, not delayed, but being prepared. As you read this, something inside you is already shifting the things that kept you small. Old financial fears begin to lose power. Inherited beliefs begin to dissolve, and new space begins to form within you. Now, to activate this first step, do this consciously. Declare with intention, I allow God to reorganize my inner being so I can sustain what he wants to release. And write in the comments, I am ready to be aligned from within. Some people spend their entire lives praying for prosperity, yet never access prosperity. Not because God denied it, but because their mind never aligned with what God released. There is a massive difference between asking for prosperity and thinking like someone who is prosperous. And here is one of the most neglected secrets in the Bible. You will never live what your mind rejects. And many people reject prosperity without realizing it. They reject it when they say, that's not for me. I'll never make it. I don't deserve this. I just want enough to survive. They reject it when they shrink their own dreams. They reject it when they sabotage themselves. They reject it when they're afraid to grow. They reject it when they feel guilty for desiring a better life. Meanwhile, the entire Bible reveals a God who multiplies, expands, adds, and overflows. But how can heaven release abundance to a mind that only accepts scarcity? How can God deliver opportunity to someone who believes it's never for me? How can the kingdom draw new paths for someone who keeps mentally revisiting the same limitations? Change begins within. A transformed mind sees possibilities where it once saw obstacles. A renewed mind sees doors where it once saw walls. A mind aligned with the kingdom does not negotiate purpose out of fear. A prosperous mind understands that prosperity is not luxury. Prosperity is responsibility. Prosperity is purpose. Prosperity is a tool of impact. And here is a powerful spiritual principle. Heaven will not release what you cannot yet imagine as part of your reality. If you think small, you live small. If you think limited, you live limited. If you think with fear, you live stuck. But when your mind expands, your territory expands too. When you begin to see the way God sees, you begin to access what God has already prepared. Take a deep breath now. Declare with intention, my mind aligns with purpose, not with scarcity. I break old mindsets and receive a prosperous mind. There are people praying for a prosperous life, but emotionally unable to sustain it, because prosperity doesn't begin in the wallet. It begins in emotional structure. And this is the part almost no one preaches. Heaven does not place weight on hands that still tremble on the inside. Prosperity requires stability, clarity, consistency. A grounded identity, a trained spirit, balanced emotions. Some people even receive more money, but spend it all in a week. They receive an opportunity, but quit at the first obstacle. They walk through an open door, but step in without emotional preparation and get swallowed by their own advancement. It's not lack of blessing, it's lack of foundation. Because prosperity is not just having a lot. Prosperity is managing well, maintaining well, and multiplying well. And to multiply, a person needs posture, discipline, self-control, vision, patience, purpose-driven awareness. Without this, any increase becomes chaos. Any achievement becomes anxiety. Any growth becomes a burden. And here is a strong truth. God does not accelerate someone who cannot handle the speed. Because if he pushes you into a place your structure cannot sustain, you fall. And God does not waste his children. He prepares them. The question you need to ask is not, why hasn't it arrived yet? The real question is, have I become the person who can sustain what God wants to give me? Because the kingdom does not respond to begging. The kingdom responds to maturity. And maturity is not age, it is surrender, it is responsibility, it is posture, it is alignment. Prosperity does not work with disorder. It does not work with fragile emotional patterns. It does not work with a soul constantly putting out fires. That's why before God opens the path outside, He arranges the path inside. Before He gives you territory, He gives you identity. Before He hands you resources, He teaches you administration. And before He places you up front, He strengthens you from within. Take a deep breath and declare now, with authority, I allow God to strengthen my internal structure to sustain what He is about to give me. Many people want prosperity, but their heart keeps facing the exact same direction. They want a new future, but with the same old mindset, they want a harvest, but keep planting the same seed. They want abundance, but still carry internal habits that sustain lack. And here is the key few people understand. Nothing changes on the outside until the heart changes on the inside. You can declare prosperity. You can pray for prosperity. You can fast for prosperity. But if the heart is not transformed, the habits will keep sabotaging the answers. Because prosperity is a consequence. Heart transformation is the foundation. And a converted heart is not just spirituality. A converted heart is posture. It is when you say, I no longer live reacting to lack. I no longer make decisions based on fear. I no longer let money control me. I no longer confuse faith with recklessness. When the heart changes, priorities change. When priorities change, decisions change. When decisions change, results change. And the Bible makes this clear. Matthew 6:21, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Meaning, prosperity doesn't shape character, it exposes it. If the heart is misaligned, prosperity becomes a problem. If the heart is aligned, prosperity becomes a tool. Here is the truth. There are people asking for more, but unable to honor the little they already have. They ask for new doors, but neglect the ones already open. They ask for big opportunities, but complain about the small ones. They ask for abundance, but their heart still vibrates in scarcity, not confidence. And here is a spiritual secret almost no one teaches. Prosperity never comes first. The heart comes first. God transforms within before He transforms around. God shifts values before He shifts circumstances. God adjusts intentions before He releases positions. And do you know what real conversion looks like? It's when you stop being moved by money and start being moved by purpose. It's when you understand that riches are not the goal, they are the means. Not the throne, but the tool. Not identity, but responsibility. And when that happens, something radical shifts. The fear of not having disappears. The attachment to what you have dissolves, and you become trustworthy to receive more, because a converted heart doesn't chase what is earthly. A converted heart attracts what is heavenly. Declare this intentionally now. My heart is transformed to sustain the prosperity God entrusts to me. Many people spend their whole lives waiting for the environment to change so their mind can finally change. But in the kingdom of God, everything works the opposite way. The shift does not begin with the scenery. It does not begin with the salary. It does not begin with the opportunity. It does not begin with the wallet. The shift begins in the mind, and the environment simply follows. The mind is the steering wheel of life. If the mind turns right, life turns right. If the mind turns left, life turns left. If the mind freezes, life freezes. Nothing moves beyond the mind's ability to sustain that movement. And what do we see every day? People who want a transformed future, but still operate with a mind programmed for survival, not advancement. They want prosperity, but still think like someone who needs to hide from life. They want abundance, but their first internal reaction is fear, not faith. And here is a critical truth. A scarcity mindset is not poverty, it's emotional self-protection. Scarcity does not come from lack of money. It comes from lack of internal security. It is a defensive pattern that trains us to expect little, so we don't get hurt much. But the kingdom does not work like that. The kingdom does not train you to expect little. The kingdom trains you to expect the impossible. And that is why Jesus always confronted the mind before confronting the situation. He never started with the miracle. He always started with the mentality, do not fear, only believe. Be it done according to your faith. Why? Because changing the circumstance does nothing if the mind is still locked in an old pattern. If you receive, but inwardly don't believe, you lose it. If you conquer, but inwardly cannot sustain, you abandon it. If you advance, but inwardly sabotage, you go backwards. Prosperity begins in thinking before it appears in the bank. Wealth begins in consciousness before it manifests in reality. Abundance begins in identity before it becomes a testimony. And here's a powerful key. The mind only expands when you break the old narrative that shaped you. The narrative that told you you were born for little. The narrative that said you didn't deserve more. The narrative that convinced you desiring prosperity was selfish. The narrative that trained you to shrink so others wouldn't feel uncomfortable. But the spiritual truth is different. God does not create children to survive. God creates children to govern. God does not bless small thinking. God expands the vision of those who choose to trust. Your mind is the first territory that must be conquered. And when that happens, something extraordinary begins to move. You stop seeing obstacles and start seeing possibilities. You stop reacting and start building. You stop fearing closed doors and start creating new ones. You stop depending on circumstances and start depending on purpose. Now, declare this with full conviction. My mind expands to receive what God has written for me. My thoughts align with possibility, not limitation. And to seal this moment, comment, my mind is expanding into kingdom prosperity. There is a crucial point that very few people ever notice. You don't prosper by what you want. You prosper by what you decide to break. Everyone wants prosperity. Everyone wants a better life. Everyone dreams of stability. Everyone prays for abundance. But most people remain stuck because they refuse to break the patterns that keep the cycle of scarcity alive. And understand this deeply. It's not the desire that changes your life. It's the behavior you decide to abandon. It's the thought you decide to replace. It's the emotional pattern you decide to confront. And why is this so difficult? Because bad patterns are comfortable. They are familiar. They are predictable. They don't scare you. They don't expose you. They don't demand a new version of you. So people prefer staying exactly where they are, instead of stepping into a level of expansion that requires responsibility, vision, and consistency. But biblical prosperity is not born from comfort. It is born from courage. Courage to look inward and admit where you've been sabotaging yourself. Courage to end cycles that should have died long ago. Courage to save nitrogen monoxide to what no longer matches your future. And here's the deepest part. Life only advances at the same pace that you advance internally. If the heart doesn't grow, life doesn't grow. If the mind doesn't expand, opportunities don't appear. If the posture doesn't change, the reality doesn't transform. And do you know what spiritually locks people the most? It's not lack of faith. It's not lack of prayer. It's not lack of promises. It's emotional attachment to their old self. They want the new, but continue relating to the old. They ask for advancement, but continue making decisions from who they were in the past. They pray for multiplication, but still think like someone just trying to survive. And then nothing changes, because it is impossible to live abundance with a limited mindset. It is impossible to walk in expansion with a shrinking behavior. It is impossible to reap a harvest with the habits of someone who doesn't plant. The kingdom does not reward intention, it rewards position. You may want a different life, but when your heart decides to position itself as someone born to prosper, everything shifts. The spiritual realm responds. The environment responds. Opportunities respond. Now, take a deep breath and declare with strength, I break completely with my old patterns. I disconnect from the version that limited my prosperity. I step into a conscious, mature, and consistent expansion. And write in the comments as spiritual legality. I break old patterns and enter my expansion. There's a spiritual truth that almost no one considers. Prosperity does not begin in your wallet, it begins in your identity. There's no point asking for more if, internally, you still see yourself as someone who deserves less. There's no point wanting to rise if, deep inside, you believe you're not ready. There's no point praying for expansion if you keep shrinking every time God places you in front of an opportunity. Many people live cycles of interrupted progress, not because they lacked skill, not because they lacked ability, not because they lacked opportunities, but because they lacked a strengthened spiritual identity. A person may even receive an open door, but they sabotage themselves. They shrink. They pull back. They stop believing. They deliver below their potential. They expect rejection. They fear stepping into a higher place. And the pattern repeats. They enter, but they don't remain. They start, but they don't finish. They build, but then dismantle. They draw near, but then withdraw. They win, but return to zero. Not because God doesn't want to prosper them, but because they are still operating from a wounded identity. Pay close attention to this. A healed identity produces sustainable prosperity. A fragmented identity produces temporary advancement. The spiritual realm responds to what you believe about yourself. If you see yourself as small, it doesn't matter how big the promise is. You will try to fit into the wrong environment. If you see yourself as unworthy, it doesn't matter how abundant the provision is. You will reject it without noticing. If you see yourself as inferior, it doesn't matter how clear the purpose is. You will assume it's for everyone else except you. That is why so many setbacks happen. That is why so many Christians never break through financially. That is why so many keep asking for deliverance while refusing to abandon the internal narratives that imprison them. Let this sink in deeply. Prosperity only remains where identity is aligned. When you understand who you are in the kingdom, you don't beg for favor, you access what has already been given. You don't plead for doors, you walk toward them with authority. You don't fear opportunities, you occupy places with confidence. And that's why so many stay paralyzed. They have faith, but no emotional structure. They have promises, but no awareness. They have talent, but no established identity. So here is the most decisive point of this entire message. You cannot access what God prepared while still seeing yourself as the version that never broke through. The version that sabotaged you cannot govern your new season. The version that diminished you cannot manage your new prosperity. The version that feared cannot lead at your new level. Now declare with strength and feel your spirit aligning. I break with the version that limited me. I receive my kingdom identity aligned and restored. I take my place as an heir, not a survivor. I accept the level God has prepared for me. Take a deep breath. There is a critical point in the spiritual realm that almost no one talks about. Many people are not stuck because of a lack of opportunity. They are stuck because of invisible patterns that sabotage their own prosperity. And these patterns do not start as demonic. They start as emotional, mental, learned, inherited, automated. The person doesn't even realize they are operating in survival mode, because that pattern was installed long before they ever knew what prosperity even was. They grew up hearing, money isn't for people like us, don't dream too big. Be content with the minimum. The one who wants too much ends up with nothing. You can't trust anyone. Better a little guaranteed than a lot uncertain, and the brain, obedient, recorded it. The spirit felt it. The emotion accepted it. And life molded itself to the wrong pattern. Now here is the important part. If you don't reprogram your financial identity, any advancement God releases will get lost along the way. The person even earns more, but doesn't manage it. Receives an open door, but doesn't walk through it. Finds a solution, but doesn't apply it. Gets promoted, but shrinks. Has talent, but doesn't believe in it. And the cycle of self-sabotage starts again. Silent, subtle, destructive. Now pay attention to this. Self-sabotage does not come from a lack of strength. Self-sabotage comes from a lack of internal permission. The person lives trapped inside an invisible limit that says, you can go this far, but anything beyond that is not for you. If you grow, people will criticize you. If you prosper, people will abandon you. If you stand out, people will hate you. If it works, you might lose it later. And the person pulls back not because they are weak, but because they were trained to fear success. But listen, God did not call you to survive. He called you to govern. The time has come to break that internal limit. The time has come to break the emotional agreement with scarcity. The time has come to silence the voice that keeps you small. The time has come to allow prosperity without guilt. Declare now, with conviction, with truth, with intention, I cancel every emotional agreement with scarcity. I break internal limits that kept me from growing. I give myself permission to prosper without fear. I receive internal authorization to live the level God prepared for me. And now, write in the comments for spiritual legality. I give myself permission to prosper. Every comment is a breakthrough. Every word written is a cut at the root of the old pattern. Every affirmation is spiritual reprogramming happening in real time. Prosperity does not begin in the wallet. It begins in the internal structure that sustains what heaven releases. Many people ask for new doors, but don't have the structure to walk through them. They ask for higher income, but don't have the maturity to manage it. They ask for opportunities, but don't have the posture to maintain them. They ask for abundance, but don't have the mindset to receive without fear. The problem has never been God. The problem has never been lack. The problem is the internal structure that determines how far you can go without destroying yourself in the process. The truth is, spiritual prosperity is built before visible prosperity ever appears. And that construction requires 3 deep internal movements. 1. Repairing spiritual self-worth. When a person carries internal wounds, they feel they must prove themselves. And those who feel the need to prove themselves never prosper, because they live trying to please, to compensate, to justify. But listen, those aligned with purpose don't need to prove value. They occupy space because they carry identity. God does not invest in insecurity. God invests in identity. When you understand your identity, doors open because of your internal firmness. Declare now, I see myself the way God sees me. I walk in identity, not insecurity too. Reorganizing emotional energy, prosperity requires energy, not physical effort, but emotional stability. Because unstable people don't finish processes. Overly emotional people get lost along the way. Impulsive people spend without thinking. Exhausted people quit before the right time, so God begins an internal cleansing process. He removes chaotic connections, He breaks draining cycles, He closes doors that were sucking your strength, He reorganizes your capacity to focus. You are not losing people, you are gaining clarity. Declare, my emotional energy stabilizes. My inner strength aligns with purpose. 3. Realigning invisible priorities. Abundance comes when the heart is in the right place. It's not just about earning more. It's about knowing why you want to earn more. When purpose governs priorities, money becomes a tool rather than an idol. And when money stops being an idol, it becomes a multiplier. God releases prosperity to those who know how to serve with it, to those who know how to honor, to those who know how to be a channel, to those who understand they are stewards, not owners. Declare, I put the kingdom first. My prosperity serves a greater purpose. Now breathe deeply and feel it. Something inside you is being reorganized. Your internal structure is getting stronger. Your vision is becoming clearer. Your heart is becoming lighter. Your mind is becoming sharper. And before we continue, write in the comments as a prophetic act, I rebuild my internal structure to sustain prosperity. This simple movement creates alignment, creates focus, creates spiritual legality. There is an invisible structure that governs the financial behavior of millions of people without them ever realizing it. A spiritual and emotional matrix built by beliefs, family influence, unhealed trauma, and inherited patterns. It doesn't matter how hard someone works, how much they try, how much they pray, or declare if the internal system is programmed for scarcity. That person will always return to the same point. This explains why those who earn more start spending more and end up back at zero. Those who receive opportunity waste it out of insecurity. Those who could grow sabotage themselves before advancing. Those who are prospering fall back into the cycle of almost scarcity is not a bank balance. Scarcity is an emotional code, and today we will expose and break that hidden programming. The spiritual root of scarcity is not in the wallet, it is in conditioning. Entire families grow up under the mentality of, I can't, that's not for me, it's impossible. We don't have that. Phrases like, money isn't everything better, poor, but honest the rich can't enter heaven, those things aren't for us. These phrases become emotional seeds. Seeds become beliefs. Beliefs become limits. They're not just words, they're codes. Codes that shape how you think, choose, buy, invest, reject, attract, and lose. When you break a mental code, you break a spiritual cycle. Declare, I reject old codes of scarcity. I break patterns that do not belong to me too. The environment you grew up in programmed your relationship with money. The financial struggles in your home were not just lack of money, they were lack of emotional management. Some grew up seeing parents fighting about bills, adults overwhelmed with debt, families living in constant improvisation. Fear of tomorrow shaping every decision. These environments create 2 internal responses. Fear of spending. Compulsive spending, both are manifestations of the same emotional wound, insecurity. It's not about money, it's about trauma. And God is healing that root right now while you read. Declare, my relationship with money is healed and stabilized. I break all emotional, financial insecurity. 3. Spiritual identity defines the capacity to prosper. Heaven never limits anyone, the mind does. If a person believes they don't deserve prosperity, every result they achieve will be internally sabotaged until they return to the comfort zone of lack. Prosperity flows when identity is aligned. When you understand, you are an heir. You are a son, daughter, you are a steward, not a beggar. You are a participant in the kingdom. Prosperity stops being a fight and becomes a reflection. Identity is not theory, identity is frequency, and frequencies attract matching realities. Declare with conviction, I think like an heir, not a survivor. I receive what the kingdom releases because I am aligned. 4. God did not call you to survive, He called you to govern. The Bible never romanticized lack. Lack is not spiritual, lack is distortion. God has always been a God of abundance, purpose, and multiplication. In the kingdom, Joseph went from prison to governing a nation. David went from pasture to throne. Daniel went from exile to ruling empires. None of them prospered by accident. They prospered because they carried identity, wisdom, posture, and obedience. God did not design you just to get by. He designed you to become a reference. Declare, I leave the territory of survival. I enter the territory of influence and governance. Now seal everything with this final declaration. I break the matrix of scarcity and step into the mindset of the kingdom. The external world will never grow beyond a person's internal capacity. It doesn't matter how many opportunities appear, how many doors open, how many connections show up. If your internal size is limited, everything that comes from the outside will shrink until it fits your emotional mold. That's why God starts from the inside out, not from the outside in. 1. Expansion begins when the internal container is enlarged. Imagine a small vessel. If you pour too much water into it, it overflows and is wasted. It's not that the resource is too little, the container is too limited. That's exactly how it works spiritually and financially. Some people ask God for prosperity, but they can't manage what they already have. They panic when more comes. They sabotage opportunities at the beginning. They fear the responsibility that comes with abundance, and that's why God enlarges the inner vessel before sending anything great. The right question is not, when will prosperity come? The right question is, am I able to hold what I asked for? Because God doesn't give something to destroy you, He gives to expand you. Declare now, my inner being expands to sustain what God is releasing. 2. The mind expands when it stops resisting its own abundance. Most people unconsciously fear what they prayed for. They want prosperity, but fear losing it. They want expansion, but fear failing. They want growth, but fear responsibility. They want progress, but remain emotionally tied to the past. This internal conflict creates a block. You ask with your mouth, but reject with your heart. It's like planting seeds in hardened soil. Nothing takes root. So God begins expansion by breaking internal fear. The mind must allow what the spirit already possesses. Declare, I allow myself to grow. I receive without fear. I advance without shrinking back. 3. Expansion requires detaching from the old to access the new. Some people don't advance because they're emotionally tied to what should have been released long ago. You cannot carry old pain, old narratives, old guilt, toxic emotional loyalties, destructive family patterns, invisible agreements with lack. The new cannot enter where the old still governs. And God does not pour new wine into old wineskins. Spiritually, that means the new requires updating. The new requires rupture. The new requires detachment. The new requires courage. Declare with conviction, I disconnect from the old. I release what no longer serves me. I make room for God's new. 4. Financial expansion requires emotional structure. Prosperity is not just numbers. Prosperity is structure. That's why God works on mindset, behavior, habits, consistency, posture, focus. If you ask for abundance but maintain habits of scarcity, nothing changes. Look, people overspend to feel emotional relief. They buy impulsively to fill inner voids. They avoid looking at finances out of fear. They self-sabotage as soon as things start working. This is not lack of intelligence, it's lack of emotional healing. And God is healing that right now. Declare, my habits align with my purpose. My internal structure sustains my external expansion. 5. Expansion requires continuous positioning. The mind expands through repetition. The spirit expands through activation. Life expands through consistency. It's not enough to declare once. It needs to become a lifestyle. So declare firmly now, I choose to grow every day. I remain in movement. I move toward what God prepared for me. And seal it, I expand to receive what God is releasing. God never releases abundance to someone who still thinks like a survivor. A mind that lives in survival mode only sees today, urgency, fear, risk, lack, pressure. But a mind trained for multiplication sees destiny, long-term vision, purpose, impact, future harvest, gradual expansion, and that difference determines who rises and who stays stuck. 1. People in survival decide out of fear. Multipliers decide out of vision. The survivor thinks, what if it goes wrong? What if I lose everything? What if it's not enough? What if I can't do it? The multiplier thinks, what if God is opening this door? What if this changes my future? What if this decision puts me on the next level? What if this is the opportunity I prayed for? What changes is not the scenario, it's the lens. And today, God is expanding your lens. Declare firmly, I think like a multiplier, not like a survivor. 2. God doesn't prepare you to manage what you have now. He prepares you for what He has already decided to deliver. When God trains you, He's not looking at your current stage. He's looking at the future He already assigned to you. So He begins to adjust patterns, discipline, mindset, behavior, consistency, responsibility, obedience. God works on today with tomorrow in mind. That's why some instructions from the Spirit feel disproportionate to your current condition. You look at your reality and say, but I don't have anything yet. And God says, I know. I'm preparing you for when you do. The training comes before the provision. Declare, God is training me for what He has already decided to release. 3. Small thinking always wastes big opportunities. Opportunity doesn't change people. Mindset determines what they do with the opportunity. Someone with a limited mindset doesn't recognize open doors, procrastinates decisions that would change their life, self-sabotages right when things start working, runs from the responsibility that comes with abundance. But someone with an expanded mindset perceives opportunities before they appear, acts with courage and clarity, responds quickly to what God is doing, positions themselves to multiply. Mindset is not luck, it's intentional construction. Declare, my mind is expanding to align with what God is doing. 4. Multipliers don't escape the process. They grow inside it. The person who multiplies does not run from process. They understand that process is training. The survivor wants shortcuts. The multiplier wants structure. The survivor wants fast results. The multiplier wants sustainable results. The survivor wants to feel safe. The multiplier wants to generate safety. That's why God didn't let you give up, even when you tried. He was forming you while you thought you were only suffering. The process didn't shrink you, it shaped you. Declare, I grow inside the process. I don't run from it. 5. Multipliers don't react to circumstances. They respond to instructions. Ordinary people follow what they see. Spiritual people follow what they discern. This changes everything, because those who react are limited to the natural. Those who respond to the Spirit access the supernatural. Spiritual multipliers are guided by precise instructions. This is the moment. Do not step into that door. Wait a little longer. Be generous here. Invest in this now. Discernment is the highest spiritual currency. Declare, I respond to the Spirit's instruction, not to circumstances. 6. Multipliers do not operate from anxiety. They operate from priority. An anxious mind scatters energy. An aligned mind focuses energy. That's why Jesus taught, seek first the kingdom. Not because it sounds beautiful, but because it's strategic. When the kingdom is the priority, ideas come, doors line up, connections appear, opportunities find you. The impossible becomes accessible because you're not chasing, you're flowing with purpose. Declare, I operate from priority, not from anxiety. There are moments when God begins to shift you internally before He moves anything externally. And this confuses those who don't understand the codes of spiritual expansion. Because expansion never begins with doors opening. Expansion begins the moment you no longer fit where you used to be. And suddenly, what you tolerated starts to bother you. What used to serve you no longer fits. What once held you loses its power. What limited you can no longer contain you. This is not confusion. This is growth. God is expanding your internal capacity. And every internal expansion requires a response. I accept growing beyond what I know. 1. Expansion begins when God pulls you out of cycles you got used to. There are environments that have become too small for who you are becoming, and God will not allow you to remain where your identity no longer fits. He begins to adjust your perceptions, your patterns, your desires, your vision, your priorities. You're not losing interest in old things, you're losing permission. What served you in the last season cannot accompany you into the next. Declare firmly, I leave behind what is not aligned with my new season. 2. When God prepares expansion, He shifts connections before He shifts circumstances. Your life increases at the speed of your connections. Right people accelerate destiny. Wrong people delay process. So when God is preparing something big, He reorganizes your relational field. He removes draining connections. He ends bonds that paralyze you. He distances influences that distort your vision. He brings people who push you into purpose. This is not loss, it is pruning. And every pruning is preparation for greater, healthier growth. Declare, I release what needs to go and receive what God is sending. 3. Expansion requires courage to break old narratives. You cannot carry expansion with a mind conditioned for survival. And God knows that. So He confronts the old beliefs you absorbed without noticing. It's too late for me. I'm not capable. This isn't for someone like me. Better not take risks. I don't deserve much. These are not thoughts. These are prisons. And the kingdom is breaking these prisons now. Declare, I break every narrative that diminished me. 4. Expansion is not luck. It is the consequence of internal structure. You can place someone in a high position, but if their mind isn't prepared, they will fall. Real expansion does not happen from the outside in. It happens from the inside out. First, God builds vision, maturity, focus, discipline, solid identity, emotional strength. Expansion that comes before formation brings destruction. Expansion that comes after formation brings multiplication. God is choosing multiplication for you. Declare, I am being structured to sustain what God is about to release. 5. Expansion requires movement, not intention. Intention alone never changes anyone's life. What changes life is decision, courage, positioning, spirit-led action, immediate obedience. Continuous movement. Expansion doesn't happen while you only talk to God about possibilities. Expansion happens when you obey the instructions He gives. And right now, God is activating a level of movement in you that you have never walked in before. Declare, I move toward what God has written for me. 6. Those who are expanding are not intimidated by closed doors. They understand redirection. The door that didn't open was not rejection, it was protection. The door that closed was not failure, it was direction. The waiting season was not delay, it was alignment. Expansion without direction becomes chaos. Expansion with direction becomes destiny. So God closes what cannot sustain you and opens what will prepare you. Declare, I trust the redirections of the Spirit. 7. True expansion places you ahead of those who run faster. Because you follow the one who guides better, there are people running intensely toward nowhere. And there are people walking with God, advancing faster without even noticing. When you follow heaven's rhythm, you surpass those who work harder but without direction. Those who run faster but without purpose. Those who try more but without wisdom. Those who accumulate more but without structure. The difference is not effort. The difference is guidance. Declare, I advance at heaven's rhythm, not at the rhythm of anxiety. Have you noticed that before God changes what is around you, He changes what is inside you? And this internal shift is so deep that sometimes you are surprised by your own transformation. Suddenly, what made sense no longer makes sense. What attracted you now pushes you away. What kept you comfortable now makes you restless. What you tolerated becomes unacceptable. This is not emotional instability. This is spiritual transition. You are being prepared for a reality that doesn't yet exist in the natural realm, but is already fully established in the spiritual realm. Heaven is repositioning you from the inside out. Declare, I allow God to transform what needs to be transformed in me. 1. Transition begins with a new awareness you don't remember asking. For God does not ask if you're ready. He activates. And when He activates, you begin to feel heightened spiritual sensitivity, heightened perception of right and wrong. increased clarity about what to do, increased disconnection from wrong environments. This awareness is proof that God is pulling you into a new level. And new levels require new awareness. You cannot operate in a new season with an old mindset, which is why God is updating your inner world. Declare, my mind is updated by the Spirit too. You know something is changing even if you can't explain it, and that is the sign real transition doesn't begin with explanation. It begins with sensation. It feels like your spirit is telling you, you can't stay here, you can't think like this, you can't accept this anymore, you can't return to what you already outgrew. Discomfort is proof that the level you were in is no longer suitable for who you are becoming. Feeling this discomfort is not a sign of confusion, it is a sign of advancement. Declare, I move forward even when I don't understand everything. 3. When God is preparing to elevate you, He rearranges your priorities without asking permission suddenly, without effort. You begin to disconnect from trivial conversations, lose interest in distractions, distance yourself from people who derail you, value silence and direction, focus on what truly matters. Perceive what is real and what is illusion. It's like your spiritual vision adjusts its focus. What used to feel important loses weight. What seemed secondary becomes essential. What was confusing reveals its true intentions. God is aligning your focus with your future. Claire, my priorities align with what God wants to build in me. 4. Transition exposes patterns you should have let go of years ago when God loves you. He reveals what you didn't want to face, habits that drain you, behaviors that sabotage you, emotions that control you, relationships that delay you, cycles that cannot sustain you, excuses that kept you small. Transition is not gentle, it is necessary. It tears veils, reveals wounds, exposes roots, and brings to the surface everything that would hold you back. Not to hurt you, but to free you. Declare, I release everything that does not sustain my purpose. 5. Heaven begins activating inside you what will be essential in the place you have not yet arrived while you think nothing is happening. God is increasing your maturity, strengthening your faith, activating discernment, awakening courage, stabilizing your emotions, aligning your perception, expanding your vision. You are being trained for things that are not yet part of your daily life, but soon will be. He prepares you today for responsibilities that will appear tomorrow. Declare, I am equipped to sustain what God is releasing. 6. Transition makes you recognize who you are and who you are no longer. Old parts of your identity are being removed. You no longer think like before. You no longer react like before. You no longer feel like before. You no longer belong where you once fit. This is why old environments feel strange now. You were transformed to fit something larger. What remains after this process is a renewed identity. Declare, I embrace my elevated identity and leave the old behind. There is a moment when God doesn't just reorganize your life, He rebuilds your internal structure. And this reconstruction is so deep that if you try to explain it to someone, they simply won't understand. Because it's not something happening around you. It's something heaven is operating inside you, layer by layer. And you start noticing it when your reactions change, your expectations change, your posture changes, your sensitivity changes, your desires change, your perception changes. What used to shake you no longer touches you. What used to hold you back no longer binds you. What used to irritate you no longer affects you. What used to distract you no longer makes sense. This is not emotional coldness. This is spiritual maturity. You are being rebuilt to fit what God is about to place in your hands. Declare, I am rebuilt for my next season. 1. Heaven starts healing what you ignored, not what you prayed for. God's work in your life begins in areas you never considered serious. He heals old frustrations, hidden insecurities, fears you disguised, guilt you carried silently, wounds you normalized, blockages you thought were part of you. You didn't ask God to touch these areas, but He did. Because to move you forward, He had to restore what was weakening you internally. He doesn't touch where it hurts. He touches where it blocks. Declare, I release what heaven is restoring in me too. When God prepares you, He ends cycles without consulting your emotions. You don't decide who stays. You don't decide who leaves. You don't decide who distances themselves. You don't decide who remains. God makes silent yet definitive moves. He closes doors you still wanted open. He cuts ties you tried to hold together. He removes people whose presence was tying your destiny to their delay. This is not punishment, it's preservation, because you cannot carry everything into the next level. Declare, I release what cannot accompany my next phase. 3. Maturity comes when you realize you're not losing. You're being filtered. What looks like loss is actually cleansing. What looks like abandonment is actually protection. What looks like rejection is actually redirection. Heaven is spiritually organizing you for what is coming. And part of this organization includes removing dead weight, interrupting toxic cycles, silencing confusing voices, pruning improper access, breaking partnerships that delayed you. You are not being isolated. You are being set apart. Declare, I accept the divine filter and move forward lighter. 4. Your emotional capacity is being expanded to handle the harvest that is coming. Big harvests require big emotional structure. And God is expanding your ability to deal with responsibility, fast decisions, spiritual pressure, difficult people, new environments, unexpected changes. He is training you so you won't collapse in the place where He is about to position you. That's why you feel more focus, more endurance, more patience, more vision, more firmness, more authority. You are growing from the inside out, and it's changing the way the world sees you. Declare, my capacity expands to receive what belongs to me. 5. Internal reconstruction reorganizes your identity, and identity reorganizes destiny when you change on the inside. Everything around you responds. Your energy changes. Your presence changes. Your voice changes. Your vision changes. And suddenly you start to attract bigger environments, repel toxic atmospheres, see hidden opportunities, be recognized by those who once ignored you, not because you forced anything, but because you elevated your spiritual frequency. And elevated identities attract elevated destinies. Declare, my identity is strengthened and my destiny realigns. There are moments when God doesn't just lift you up. He dismantles everything that was holding you, piece by piece, layer by layer, structure by structure. And this dismantling doesn't happen in noise. It happens in the spiritual silence where only heaven is watching. You know you are living this when your soul starts detaching from things that once felt permanent. What used to affect you no longer touches you. What used to steal your peace no longer has access. What used to occupy you no longer matters. What used to control you dissolves under the light God ignited inside you. Heaven is undoing what hell built against you and replacing it with something that can never be shaken. Declare with authority, everything that is not mine dissolves. Everything that is mine is established. 1. Heaven begins by removing what you normalized. You normalized exhaustion. You normalized delays. You normalized repeated cycles. You normalized heavy emotions. You normalized worries that drained your strength. But God did not normalize any of it. And that's why He began breaking those silent structures. He broke the internal pattern of surviving, the mindset that accepted little, the behavior that hid your potential, the thought that weakened your strength. You didn't notice when it began. But now you're noticing who you're becoming as it ends. Something inside you has been reconfigured. And now your life is responding to this reconfiguration. Declare, I break what tied me to the old and I step into my new structure. 2. God dismantles battles you no longer needed to fight. There were wars you thought were yours, but they were spiritual distractions. And heaven decided to end battles you were too tired to carry. And how does He do this? Cutting emotional access, closing old breaches, breaking invisible cycles, silencing repeated attacks, removing the strength of what oppressed you suddenly. What tormented you loses its presence, not because you won by human effort, but because God removed the enemy's power. When God removes the enemy's power, even the attack loses purpose. Declare, old battles end so my new territory can begin. 3. Heaven reorganizes your vision before reorganizing your life. The spiritual order is always, first, He changes your vision. Then He changes your route. Finally, He changes your reality. That is why you've been feeling more clarity, more lightness, more focus, more strategy, more perception, more purpose. This is God clearing internal excess to make room for what is divine. A clean vision makes you unreachable for manipulation. A clean vision protects you from emotional traps. A clean vision frees you from human expectations. A clean vision positions you correctly. Declare, my vision is reorganized, my path is aligned, my life responds to heaven. 4. He exposes what you couldn't see, so you never go back to it again. The dismantling of the enemy begins with exposure. God reveals hidden intentions, disguised people, toxic environments, harmful agreements, dangerous connections he doesn't reveal to wound you. He reveals to protect you. You needed to see so you would never return. You needed to perceive so you would never accept it again. You needed to understand so you would never tolerate it again. Revelation is the greatest deliverance. Declare, I see what once deceived me, and I never return to what delayed me. 5. He closes doors that protected the enemy. Not you. Some doors didn't close against you. They closed to prevent you from returning to what once weakened you. They closed to prevent you from insisting on the wrong place, depending on those who never valued you, staying where your soul was shrinking, investing where there would be no return, wasting energy on a future that didn't exist. God closed it to save you, not punish you. Declare, I accept the closing that protects me and walk toward what promotes me. There comes a moment when God doesn't just remove what is toxic. He rebuilds you from the inside out, in a structure the enemy cannot access nor dismantle. And this reconstruction doesn't happen on the surface. It happens at the root, in the territory no one sees, but where everything begins. Heaven is establishing new foundations inside you. Foundations of strength, foundations of clarity, foundations of purpose, foundations of maturity, foundations of emotional stability. You are being rebuilt in the invisible dimension, so you can sustain what God is about to release in the visible dimension. Declare, I am rebuilt in identity, in vision, and in spiritual structure. 1. God is establishing you on a foundation that cannot collapse before. You used to be shaken easily. Small things disturbed you. Words wounded you. Situations disorganized you. Attacks threw you off balance. But now you're noticing something different rising inside of you. A firmness you never had. A peace that doesn't depend on circumstances. A security that doesn't come from logic. This is God establishing you as a house built on the rock. No longer someone who reacts to the wind, the storm, or other people's opinions. What used to shake your soul no longer has permission to touch you. Declare, I remain firm because God has established me too. God is expanding your capacity without you realizing it. Expansion does not begin when things grow on the outside. It begins when you grow on the inside, and you are growing. Your tolerance for chaos has decreased. Your spiritual perception has increased. Your decision-making has become more mature. Your discernment has become sharper. Your vision has become broader. Your faith has become strategic. You're not just changing. You are becoming someone who no longer bows to old patterns. God is giving you a mind that thinks bigger, a spirit that feels deeper, and a consciousness that perceives before it happens. Declare, my internal capacity expands to sustain my new territory. 3. God is redirecting your energy toward what truly matters. You spent too much energy on what did not return anything. Energy on people who did not value you. Energy on situations that only frustrated you. Energy on battles that were never yours. Energy on expectations that would never be fulfilled. Energy on conversations that diminished you. But now God is teaching you to direct your energy divinely, not emotionally. You are learning to avoid conflicts that drain you. Stop investing where there is no return. Stop exhausting yourself with what is not eternal. Stop giving attention to what only creates noise. Stop feeding what weakens your faith. Your energy is now precious, and God is teaching you to invest it where there is purpose, not depletion. Declare, my energy aligns with purpose, not chaos. 4. God is preparing you for opportunities that require spiritual maturity. There are doors that do not open before the maturity arrives. Not because God didn't want to open them, but because you are not ready to sustain what was behind them. But now, things have changed. You are becoming someone who understands timing, understands movement, understands direction, understands the season, understands responsibility, understands purpose, and when maturity arrives, opportunity follows and remains. God is aligning you with doors that require who you are becoming right now. Declare, I receive maturity to sustain what God is placing in my hands. 5. God is restoring areas you believed were too broken. You thought there was no fixing left. You thought it was too late. You thought you had lost too much. You thought the damage had destroyed everything. But God is restoring internal areas you believed would never function again. Your hope, your expectations, your faith, your emotional strength, your creativity, your spiritual sensitivity, your capacity to trust, your vision for the future, and He is restoring without rushing, because He is rebuilding you permanently, not temporarily. God does not patch, God rebuilds. Declare, what I thought was lost, God is rebuilding with excellence. There comes a moment when God calls you to place your future on the altar. Not as someone desperate, but as someone who has finally decided to trust the author of your story. You don't surrender the future because you're afraid. You surrender because you finally understood that control never protected you, but surrender positions you. God is calling you to consecrate what is coming, even before you see what it will be. 1. You are being separated from anxiety to be connected to divine direction. Anxiety always tries to push you into a confused future. Purpose leads you into a constructed future. Anxiety accelerates you out of timing. Purpose accelerates you within timing. Learn this. Anxiety tries to anticipate what God wants to reveal at the right time. And now, God is breaking that root inside you. You will notice this in the coming days. Internal noise decreasing, misaligned expectations, losing strength, chaotic thoughts dissolving, decisions becoming lighter, directions becoming clearer. You are disconnecting from anxiety to connect with discernment. Declare, my future is not guided by fear. It is guided by purpose. 2. God is training you to discern doors, not push them open. There are doors that open through human effort, but close through emotional exhaustion. And there are doors God opens, and no resistance can shut them. You are entering a season where you don't force opportunities. You don't cling to places that diminish you. You don't beg for connections. You don't insist on doors God has closed. You don't try to prove yourself. You don't try to fit where you do not belong, because now God is activating the wisdom to know which door is yours and which door is only a distraction. You will feel this in your spirit. Some doors will lose their shine. Some people will lose access. Some environments will lose influence. And it's not rejection, it's protection. Declare, I do not push doors. I walk through the doors God opens. 3. God is breaking invisible cycles of repetition. There are patterns that repeat generation after generation. Emotional patterns, financial patterns, patterns of loss, unstable relationships, cycles of setback, cycles of almost getting there, and you know it's not coincidence. You felt you were fighting something bigger than effort alone. But God is breaking this cycle at your level, so your life sets a different legacy. You are the dividing line in your family history. What was normal for them will not be normal for you. What repeated in them ends with you. What pulled them back loses power over you. You are the point of rupture of ancient cycles. Declare, what followed my lineage ends in me. 4. God is repositioning you emotionally to receive what has always been yours. You cannot receive greatness with the mind of someone who once saw themselves as small. So God is adjusting you from the inside, adjusting your self-worth, adjusting your perception, adjusting your confidence, adjusting your internal value, adjusting your vision of your calling. God will not give you something you don't believe you're worthy of receiving. First, He heals identity. Then He manifests destiny. And now He is showing you it's not ego, it's not pride, it's not vanity. It's spiritual awareness. The awareness of who you are in Him and what He wants to do through you. Declare, my identity is healed. My destiny is released. 5. God is giving you new eyes to see opportunities you used to overlook. Nothing around you has changed, but everything inside you has. And that's why you're noticing things you've never noticed before. Ideas appearing out of nowhere. Opportunities hidden inside problems, connections where others see chaos. Solutions where others see impossibilities. Pathways where others see blockages. God is activating your strategic vision. Not just spiritual sight, but practical, intelligent, mature sight. It's the ability to see what's hidden, perceive before it happens, recognize movement before the announcement, identify gaps before the breakthrough. God is giving you the kind of vision that separates conquerors from spectators. Declare, I see opportunities where others see limitations. There comes a moment when God is no longer shifting things around you. He is shifting things inside you. Because when you change internally, the environment can no longer hold you in the same place. True change does not begin with opportunity. It begins within. You are not just changing seasons. You are changing identity. You are becoming someone capable of governing what you once only desired. 1. When you change on the inside, what used to surround you loses access. Things that once held you now feel small. Cycles that once drained you now feel boring. Environments that once wounded you now feel unlivable. People who once manipulated you can no longer touch you. This is how God separates people for their next season. He removes your compatibility with what diminished you. You start to notice your taste changes, your expectations change, your conversations change, your energy changes, your boundaries change, and when this internal shift happens, everything that cannot follow simply disappears. Declare, I no longer belong to the level I once tried to survive. 2. God is realigning your priorities to open greater paths. What used to feel urgent no longer matters. What used to distract you loses value. What used to consume you now feels irrelevant. You notice this when you stop engaging in pointless arguments. You stop investing energy in those who don't value you. You stop chasing people who minimize you. You stop sacrificing your peace for the unnecessary. God is training you to focus on what actually carries you into purpose. He doesn't want you exhausted. He wants you strategic. And when your priorities get into alignment, opportunities appear on their own. Declare, I align with what is essential, and heaven opens the way. 3. God is disconnecting you from emotional roots that sabotaged your progress. You didn't notice it. But much of your delay came from emotional ties that were never meant to stay. The need to please, the fear of disappointing, the guilt of growing, the shame of prospering, the burden of carrying what is not yours, and God is cutting those roots now. He is teaching you. Pleasing everyone shrinks you. Carrying the world drains you. Saving those who don't want change paralyzes you. Worrying about opinions imprisons you. Trying to prove yourself keeps you tied to the past. You were not called to please. You were called to advance. Declare, I disconnect from everything that drains me and does not lead to purpose. 4. God is preparing you to handle greater levels without losing balance. Big doors require big internal structure. And that's why God is strengthening you before multiplication comes. He is giving you emotional maturity, spiritual firmness, inner balance, clear vision, discipline, consistency, because without internal structure, every big door becomes a big fall. But with internal structure, every door becomes expansion. What God is building in you is not just for now, it is to sustain you in what He is about to place in your hands. Declare, I receive the structure to remain where God is taking me. 5. God is teaching you how to prosper without losing your essence. Many people grow on the outside but shrink on the inside. Many conquer outwardly but get lost inwardly. Many rise publicly but collapse privately. But God is teaching you differently. He is activating a kind of prosperity that doesn't corrupt you, doesn't distract you, doesn't harden you. He is giving you prosperity with purpose, influence with integrity, growth with humility, advancement with spiritual sensitivity, resources with responsibility, because He doesn't just want to give you things, He wants to give you maturity to govern them. Declare, I will prosper without losing who I am. There comes a moment when you feel it, not with your mind, but with your spirit, that there is no turning back. You are crossing an invisible line, a spiritual boundary, a point of no return. It doesn't matter who you were yesterday. It doesn't matter what happened to you. It doesn't matter who tried to stop you. What matters is who you are becoming now. Something is being activated inside you. Something you cannot explain. Something that does not depend on emotion. Something that does not depend on approval. Something that does not depend on circumstances. It is as if heaven itself placed a mark on your spirit, a mark of advancement, a mark of authority, a mark of maturity, a mark of destiny. You are crossing from a phase where everything required effort into a phase where everything will flow through alignment. From a season where you had to fight to be seen, into a season where doors will open before you arrive. From a season where you felt small, into a season where your spirit expands beyond what your eyes can comprehend. You are standing at the threshold between what has ended and what is about to begin. And this spiritual threshold is where everything shifts. It is where inner battles go silent. It is where certainty becomes unshakable. It is where the soul quiets down and the spirit takes its rightful place. This is the place where God speaks louder, where He aligns you, cleanses you, strengthens you, and repositions you. You are being prepared for something that is not visible yet, but is already real in the spiritual realm. Now, before the prayer, declare with authority, I am ready to cross into what God has prepared. I leave what was small and step into what was written for me. I receive alignment, authority, and access. And if you feel it in your spirit, write in the comments as an act of spiritual legal authority, I cross into what God has prepared. Now take a deep breath, because we are about to step into a prayer that does not just touch, it activates, breaks, unlocks, and opens invisible paths. Place yourself in a posture of surrender. Take a deep breath, silence everything around you, and allow this prayer to reach your spirit now. Eternal God, God who sees the invisible, who hears what the lips do not speak, and who knows what the soul hides. I present myself now before your presence with reverence, humility, and the authority received through the blood of the Lamb. I pray that every spiritual atmosphere surrounding this person be invaded by your light. Let every darkness lose structure, lose dominion, lose legitimacy. Let every hidden shadow, every open door, every emotional breach be closed now by the fire of the Holy Spirit. I pray that the wind of your spirit passes through their mind. Let every heavy, confused, repetitive, destructive, or limiting thought be uprooted at the root. Let their mind be washed, strengthened, realigned, and released to see purpose with clarity. I pray that their heart is purified. Purify accumulated emotions. Purify painful memories. Purify past wounds that still bind, still hurt, still block. Purify, Lord, everything that still breathes scarcity, fear, rejection, insecurity, or doubt. May their heart receive the touch of your presence, the touch that calms, that organizes, that heals, and that moves them forward. I declare with the authority of the kingdom that everything that rose against this life falls now. Let spiritual strongholds be destroyed. Let cycles of loss be broken. Let blocked paths be unlocked. Let spiritual interference be scattered by holy fire. Let every negative word spoken by others or by the person themselves, let's all affect now. I break now, in the name of Jesus, all stagnation, all delay, all resistance, all hindrance. I cut every emotional arrow that tried to paralyze. I remove every spiritual knot that tried to imprison. I dismantle nets, ties, chains, and blockages. I declare the opening of invisible doors, doors that were locked for years, doors that were hidden, doors that seemed impossible. Doors open now. Access arrives now. Direction flows now. Answers manifest now. Right connections find this person now. I pray that opportunities aligned with purpose approach swiftly, that resources arrive in the right measure, at the right time, in the right way, that people sent from heaven cross their path to strengthen, uplift, and expand. I pray for positioning and honor, that this person will be seen where they were once ignored, that they will be recognized where they were underestimated, that they will be invited into environments where their voice carries weight and value. I declare divine transfer. Transfer of strength, transfer of wisdom, transfer of authority, transfer of favor, transfer of strategies. Let everything that has been in the spiritual realm, waiting for authorization to manifest, come down now into the natural. I declare that what was distant begins to approach. What was stuck begins to move. What was hidden begins to appear. What was closed begins to open. What was paralyzed begins to function. Pray that this person enters a season of harvest not by force, but through obedience, faith, and alignment. Lord, place order where there was chaos. Place purpose where there was doubt. Place courage where there was fear. Place strength where there was exhaustion. Place vision where there was blindness. Place peace where there was instability. Align decisions. Align relationships. Align opportunities. Align paths. Align emotions. Align identities. Align territories. May heaven write the route, and may their steps follow that route with precision. Let nothing be lost. Let nothing deviate. Let nothing be delayed. I prophesy over this life. You will walk into rooms that once rejected you. You will occupy places you once believed were impossible. You will experience provision you have never seen before. You will receive answers that change your direction. You will carry testimonies that reveal the kingdom. You will be marked by the difference. Nothing will stop you. Nothing will block you. Nothing will steal from you. Nothing will delay you, because what God released over your life is being activated right now. I seal this prayer with the blood of Jesus. I seal it with authority. I seal it with protection. I seal it with clarity. I seal it with destiny. I seal it with advancement. I seal it with fire. And I declare that this person steps into a cycle where everything aligns, everything organizes, and everything flows for the glory of God. If you receive this prayer in your spirit, declare in the comments, "I receive heaven's alignment." And now, as an act of honor and spiritual continuity, subscribe to the channel and remain connected to this atmosphere of daily activation. May the Lord cover you, strengthen you, and lead you step by step. Shalom and abundance over your life.